Before we dive into tonight's story, if you're someone who loves deeply moving, emotional stories that linger in your mind long after they end, stories that reveal the fragile beauty of human connections, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Your support allows us to keep bringing these stories to life, stories that touch hearts and provoke thought, like the one you're about to hear tonight. A night that would forever change Michael's life. Michael sat alone in the living room, surrounded by shadows stretching lazily along the walls, shifting every time a car drove past outside. A single lamp cast a dim, golden light, making the room feel intimate, yet heavy, like the quiet was pressing down on him, folding in around him. It wasn't peaceful. No, it was wrong. Wrong in a way that made his chest tighten and a strange, gnawing unease settle under his skin. Just hours before, Claire had left. Not with a storm of anger. Not with accusations or tears. She had left in a way that seemed almost rehearsed, methodical, calm, deliberate, as if she had imagined this moment countless times before finally acting. She didn't slam doors. She didn't yell. She simply zipped her suitcase closed. A small metallic sound that would echo in Michael's mind long after she disappeared from his life. He couldn't even remember the last words she had said. His mind grasped for them like smoke slipping through his fingers. All that remained were fragments. The soft echo of her footsteps fading down the hallway, the creak of the floorboards beneath her weight, and then, nothing. Silence so thick that it felt as if the house itself were mourning with him. The once familiar walls of their home now felt unreal, as if someone had drained the color from the world. The photos, the furniture, even the air seemed altered, hollow and fragile, like a world paused in mid-breath. Slowly Michael stood and shuffled toward the mantel above the fireplace. Dozens of photographs set neatly on the shelf, snapshots of summers at the beach, birthdays brimming with laughter, moments that once felt eternal. He picked up a photo of them on their 4th wedding anniversary, Claire laughing at something he couldn't recall. Her smile was radiant, careless, the kind of smile that once felt meant just for him. When had that smile stopped being his? Michael ran his thumb across the glossy surface of the photo, feeling the sharp edge against his skin. The memories didn't hurt because they were gone. They hurt because they had once seemed permanent. He remembered the little signs he had ignored. The nights she came home late without explanation. The dinners where her words became fewer. The subtle withdrawal of her touch. The way her eyes seemed to look past him rather than at him. Each moment felt small in isolation, but cracks, small and insidious, had formed across the foundation of their marriage. He had believed love was enough to hold everything together. Now he realized it wasn't. Love was fragile. Tonight, fragile became broken. Seeking distraction, Michael wandered into the kitchen. His hope that motion could clear his mind was short-lived. 2 coffee mugs sat untouched on the counter, his and hers. That morning he had brewed her cup, hoping the comfort of routine would soften the distance that had been growing between them. She hadn't even noticed. She had brushed past both him and the mug as though they were invisible, irrelevant. Hands trembling, he poured the contents down the sink. The liquid swirled into nothingness. It felt symbolic, as if pieces of their shared life were being washed away with it. When he turned off the tap, silence returned, heavier than before. Every breath felt tight and shallow. Each inhale a reminder of the emptiness around him. He needed someone, anyone, to tell him he wasn't completely falling apart. But who? Family lived states away. His closest friend had moved. And maybe no one could really understand what it felt like to lose someone while they were still alive. Then the doorbell rang. A sharp, jarring sound slicing through the quiet. Michael stiffened, heart leaping. For a fleeting, desperate moment, hope surged. Maybe it was Claire. But reality came crashing down almost immediately. Claire was not the type to return a few hours after leaving, not after months of emotional distance, not after the resigned sadness he had seen in her eyes earlier. He opened the door. Standing there, illuminated by the porch light, was Evelyn, Claire's mother. She looked calm, too calm, her cardigan neat, her hair tied back, clutching a small handbag in her hand. Her eyes, though, told another story, a story of concern, resilience, and something Michael couldn't quite identify. He expected blame, anger, judgment. But Evelyn's voice was soft when she spoke. "Michael," she said, "may I come in?" He stepped aside wordlessly. She entered the house with quiet dignity, seating herself on the couch with careful composure, folding her hands neatly in her lap. Michael followed, his mind a tangle of questions. Why was she here? To defend her daughter? To accuse him? To explain something he had no hope of understanding? Then she spoke. I know, she said gently. She called me before she left. Michael felt a twinge of bitterness, quickly replaced by a weightier grief. He realized Claire had confided in her mother, but not him. Then she doesn't want this anymore, he said, voice tight. Evelyn didn't react immediately. Finally, she spoke, her words deliberate and heavy with meaning. Sometimes people leave, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to stay. Michael sank onto the couch, exhausted, feeling some of the suffocating weight lift in her calm presence. Evelyn didn't lecture. She didn't demand explanations. She simply sat, a grounding presence in the storm, offering quiet companionship when words were inadequate. For the first time tonight, the house felt less empty. Time slipped by quietly as Michael began to speak. He told Evelyn everything he had buried inside for months. The nights Claire stayed late at work, the dinners where conversation had become hollow, the distance that grew silently between them, the fear he never voiced, the emptiness he had felt long before she left. Words poured out in a torrent he hadn't anticipated, shaking him, releasing some of the pain he had carried alone. Evelyn listened without interruption. She nodded occasionally, never judging, never rushing him, just absorbing the raw truth of his heart. When he paused, exhausted, she spoke softly. Michael, you did what you could. You loved her. You were there for her. That is enough. Her words weren't pity. They were firm, gentle truths that rooted him in reality. Sometimes, she explained, people drift not because the other person failed, but because they are searching for something inside themselves they cannot explain. Michael's heart ached with understanding. He had done everything, and still, love wasn't always enough. For a long time, the two sat in silence. Michael's gaze drifted to the photos, the small relics of the life they had shared. He realized that grief, though suffocating, was also proof of love, proof that what had been real mattered. He thought of Claire, not in anger, but with a bittersweet appreciation for what they had. Evelyn's presence reminded him that human connections go beyond romance. There were people who care, people who remain even when life seems cruel. In the midst of loss, there was still compassion, still grounding, still hope that life could continue, even if it was different from what he imagined. Eventually, Evelyn stood. She gave Michael a small, reassuring smile. I can't fix this for you, Michael. But you're not alone tonight. And you won't be alone tomorrow. Michael walked her to the door. The cool night air brushed his face, and for the first time, he didn't feel completely trapped in grief. Evelyn nodded one last time, stepped onto the porch, and left. The door clicked shut behind her, but the house no longer felt entirely empty. The silence was still heavy, but it was lighter now, tinged with a new kind of calm. A reminder that even after heartbreak, the world keeps turning. Michael returned to the living room and sat alone, but not as he had before. He didn't dwell on anger or blame. He reflected on love, fragility, and the inevitability of change. Life, he realized, doesn't always give closure in the form we want. Sometimes it gives lessons, growth, and the quiet courage to continue. He picked up one of the photos again, not to mourn, but to remember. Claire had left, but love, even if it changes shape or disappears, had left its mark. It had made him human, made him feel deeply, and had connected him to someone he had truly cherished. That, he thought, was something no departure could ever erase. Michael sat back, breathing deeply, the weight in his chest still present but softened. That night didn't end with answers or reconciliation. It ended with understanding, with acceptance. And for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that even after heartbreak, life could still offer moments of quiet hope, connection, and renewal. And in that stillness, Michael realized something vital. Endings are never truly the end. They are beginnings in disguise. If this story touched you, made you reflect, or stirred your emotions, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Every story we share is a reminder of the beauty, complexity, and fragility of life. And your support makes it possible to bring more of them to life.